Shalom. This week we are reading Parashat Vayigash, beginning in Sefer Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 44 and verse 18. You know, if I heard this joke once, I heard it 100 times. And if I told it once, I probably told it 100 times. So pardon me, bear with me if you've heard it, but the joke goes like this. This Jew becomes president of the United States of America. Yes, stranger things have happened. So there we are at the inauguration of the first Jewish president. And sitting in the front row in the audience is his mother, this old Jewish lady. And you can imagine that she is sitting there and she's just bursting with pride and excitement that her son became president of the United States of America, and he's standing up there and she's just beaming. You know she's going to be impossible to live with. And she's looking up at her son, and she says to the lady sitting next to her, she says, "You see that boy up there? His brother's a doctor." So, that's the famous joke. And the joke really conveys the power of this motif of the proud parent who lives vicariously through the child and who is totally filled with a sense of great accomplishments at the accomplishments of the child. And that Jewish mother, you know, that's an old idea that every Jewish mother or father, I guess, wants their child to become a doctor. Now, when you really think about Parashat Vayigash, you realize that Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph, was actually the first Jewish doctor. He was a DD, which means doctor of dreaming. And he also must have had a PhD in food engineering and planning. So, after 22 long years of terrible separation between Ya'akov, the quintessential Jewish father, and Yosef, after 22 years of terrible separation, Ya'akov is finally reunited with Yosef. And the Torah tells us about this moment of tremendous pathos. In chapter 46, towards the close, we read, beginning with verse 29, Joseph harnessed his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father in Goshen. He appeared before him, fell on his neck, and he wept on his neck excessively. In Hebrew, Vayevch al tzavarav od implies a copious amount of crying. Yosef was crying and crying on Yaakov's neck. However, the verse doesn't describe ostensibly any action, any reaction by Yaakov. And Rashi tells us, very famous Rashi, he comments and he says that while Yosef was crying excessively and kissing Yaakov, fell on his neck, Yaakov, he was not hugging Yosef or crying or kissing him because he was busy with the recital of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, HaShem Elokeinu, HaShem Echad, the first sentence of Deuteronomy 6, the very hallmark, the very epitome of the clarion call of faith of the Jewish people. Really, the whole Shema prayer consists of that sentence, and then another 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is the continuation there in Deuteronomy 6, and then there's another paragraph from Deuteronomy and another one in Numbers, and these 3 paragraphs together, taken with the first sentence, Shema Yisrael, form the entire recital of what's called the reading of the Shema, which is done every single day, in the morning and in the evening, as it says there in Deuteronomy 6, when you lie down and when you rise up. And this is a profound religious obligation for a Jew to recite the Shema every day. So Rashi tells us, apparently this was the time of the reading of the Shema, because Yosef is busy doing what we would expect a son, a beloved son that had been separated from his father for so many years to do. He's crying, he's kissing, he's weeping. Yaakov, passive, is reading the Shema. Why wasn't Yosef reading the Shema? Commentators talk about this and they say, well, first of all, you could say that he was exempt because he was already occupied with one commandment, which is the commandment of honoring one's parents, and there's a rule that if you're occupied with one commandment, then you're exempt from another. Or you could say that, well, he actually did read the Shema, but only the first sentence, so he did it very quickly. He didn't do the other paragraphs because, after all, we find a precedent that the great Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, he actually, when he recited Shema, he only recited the first sentence. He was exempt from all the rest because he was so busy teaching Torah. So maybe Yosef also had a reason to only say the first verse, whatever. But the question is, when we read about this, it seems very odd to us. And our first reaction is, like, don't you religious people ever chill? Don't you have, like, your own life? Don't you ever relax? Is there any room there for any human feelings? What is this? Like, Yaakov, his whole life was so totally wrapped up around Yosef. And the fondest, most luxuriant hope and desire that he ever harbored was that he would maybe one day see Yosef again. And now the moment comes, and Yaakov is busy saying the Shema. And of course there is a very, very deep lesson here. Because unlike the smotheringly kind of self-centered, stereotypical mother in our joke, Yaakov was not looking at Yosef like, here's my son, the Jewish doctor who saved the whole Egypt. Here's my son, the president, his brother is a doctor. He wasn't looking at it that way at all. He was way past the you and the me and the very, very specific and idiosyncratic personal idiom of the event. He was looking at it as a whole, very holistically, as a legacy, as to what have we accomplished in this world? What are we all about? What are we leaving behind? It wasn't about my feelings. Here I am, Yaakov, being reunited with my son Yosef. It wasn't about the you and me at all. Yaakov was bringing it back to the purpose of life. He was bringing it back first and foremost to the one single vibrant reality, which is HaShem. And he was tying his own feelings, his happiness, his reunion with HaShem's presence in his life. And actually, you can say that, why wasn't Yosef saying Shema? Was he exempt because he was busy honoring his father? Did he say the first verse? That's all actually irrelevant and immaterial. Yosef was the embodiment of what Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad is all about. The fact that Yosef could go down into Egypt, remain a tzaddik in the face of the temptation, in the face of the foreign culture, and being totally sunken in everything all around him, and yet remain Yosef HaTzadik, the righteous one, and yet also be able to bring everyone up with him completely, Yaakov realized is the greatest proof and testimony to Hashem's oneness. Yaakov, in this incredible, beautiful, poetic iconography, Yaakov is reading Shema. Yosef is the Shema himself. So it's not that Yaakov was not able to open up his heart for any tender, fatherly human feelings towards Yosef. It's not that at all. Yaakov was such a man of truth, and realizing that this moment is so deep and so real and so profound, Yaakov could only take that love for Yosef and amplify it and expand it and elevate it to the source of all love, which is the love for Hashem. So it's not that Yaakov was not, able to divest himself of his religiosity or his piety, or make a moment for himself in space and time where he didn't have to think about God. Oh, you religious people, do you always have to bring God into everything? Yaakov realized that the truth about this meeting, what permeates everything here, is this vibrant reality of HaShem in my life. It has nothing to do with the me or you. Long after we are gone, we have accomplished something, you and I, in this world for the future generations of the people of Israel and for the whole world. And that's what this meeting is really all about. So Yaakov actually took this moment, the moment that he had been waiting for, the moment which is the birth and the source and the root of all true reconciliation and all true manifestation of love in this world, the moment of their reunion. And Yaakov expressed himself in such a way that reminded himself and reminded Yosef and all his children and the whole world and all of us forever that the real reflection of loving someone is an aspect of the source of all love. Yaakov reminds us, you shall love HaShem your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.